Good morning, my Teaserking family. I am off because of the holiday. I took an extra day, so I am going to share. I know most people are probably working, and no, you can catch this after work. But I wanted to get in what my thoughts. And probably the most important thing is when you're doing what we do in betting and the handicapping is to week one's come. So week zero, we're looking at last year's stats, right? We're like, who won? What do I have? I have no idea this year, except for I know Georgia and I know Alabama and pretty much Michigan, Ohio State. I got them. It's the other teams, the transfer portals, and all this stuff that we got to learn. That's why I tell you in the pros, give it a couple of weeks because we got to learn. Now, Tampa Bay, we know. Green Bay, we know. Dallas, we know. A lot of the teams we know. Jacksonville's going to suck. You got a team like Houston with the new quarterback. Let's see how they do. So anyway, we get into learning. First, let's go through last week. So my picks, I picked 10 winners and 0 losers. The other games I didn't pick, I crushed them. We'll get a count in a minute. The free pick, Ohio State, -9.5, was when I gave the pick. It was 15.5, so 9.5. If you got it at 16.5 at the end, it was 10.5. And at worst, it was 17. You tied on the 11. But you should have got it in at 9.5 because I made a very strong recommendation to get it under 10. So they won. USC wins by 100. Not a problem. So the free pick wins. Let's review my picks. My lock, Tennessee -33, cut it to 27 against Ball State. UCLA -25, -19 to Bowling Green. Easy winners. UCLA made me sweat a little bit when they were down, but they came storming. By halftime, I was up 10 points, and then boom, boom in the third quarter. So let's review what was my thought process. So Tennessee's a very strong over team, good coach, good quarterback, Hooker, against Ball State, who's kind of an even MAC team. They're not a really explosive team. Their defense is okay. Evens means they score 26, give up 26. So you're looking at Tennessee should score a lot on them. The spread was 33, which is a little bit high, but that's okay. We knew what we were getting. And Tennessee jumped all over them and 59-10 them. Not a problem. But what did we need there? We needed the over team. We needed the team with a good quarterback, Hooker. He can run too. And they were going to at home, and they needed to win because they're SEC. They get to play Florida, Georgia, Kentucky. So that's 3 games they're probably going to lose, and they get Alabama the third Saturday in October. So when they get a Ball State, they got to beat them. That they're not going to be down for that type of team. So Tennessee was good. UCLA, Bowling Green. Now Bowling Green I had as a W team. So again, I know UCLA is explosive. The quarterback's back. The running back's back. Charbonnet and Thompson Robinson. The coach is there. We know the coach loves to run the score up. They get down, they get a punt blocked, and they fumble the next punt. So they gave them 10 points. So it should have been, and they missed a couple of field goals. It should have been 51-7. All right, 45-17. They win by 28. Spread's 25 down to 19. We're really okay. I mean, even at the end, they scored a late touchdown, and they go up 45-17, which gives us a cushion. Even if Bowling Green gets a late score, they're going to be down 20 or 21, and we're still good. So that was a good one. Again, they started out. Now it was an early kickoff, which was shocking. At the Rose Bowl, they kicked off at 2:30 Eastern time, which was 11:30 West Coast time. What are they doing? The big advantage the West Coast teams have is when they play a late afternoon or an evening game. If they play a 7 o'clock game or a 10 o'clock game, the East Coast guys or the Midwest guys are exhausted because they're not used to staying up so late and playing football. So anyway, UCLA probably slept the first quarter, and then they got rolling. And by half, they were down 17-7, and that was it. So you can see when they got going, Bowling Green didn't score again. So 45-17, so an easy lock winner. But what did I do? I looked at the over teams with a good quarterback and a good coach. They score a bunch. Quarterbacks were back, so I knew what I had. I didn't bet a team I don't know what I had. I took UCLA, very balanced team, good running and passing, as was Tennessee. The next pick, I had Arkansas. Well, I'll just go through. So I have my next picks, Arkansas over Cincinnati. I got them even. They win 31-24. Arkansas is a very strong team. They're an A team. Great running. I love the quarterback. See, there's differences. So you'll hear me bitch about Lamar Jackson. And then I'll love Jefferson on Arkansas. Well, they're both kind of running quarterbacks, but yet one I love and one I hate. Well, why? Well, this Jefferson is a leader. He's a winner, and he can throw the ball, right? He's a good quarterback who can run. AKA Russell Wilson, AKA Mahomes. There's a huge difference in that than a Lamar Jackson who can't throw the ball, right? I'd rather have Jefferson here from Arkansas than Lamar Jackson or Thompson Robinson for UCLA. He runs, but he's in the pocket throwing. That's how you win, because you have, especially in the NFL, you got $1 million. You got Devontae Adams. What's the point of having a quarterback that can't throw them to him? Then they don't even cover him. What's the difference? The quarterback can't hit him, at all. So if I was a good receiver, I would never go with Lamar Jackson. Why do you think Jerry Rice stayed with Montana? Look at the difference. I mean, that's what you want. So that's what Jefferson gives you. Now, why did I go against Cincy? I love the coach at Cincy. I didn't at first, but he grew on me. And the very strong defense. So they bring in Ben Bennett from Eastern Michigan, who was okay at Eastern. He wasn't a superstar, but he comes in and he's pretty good. But I think, well, it's a new quarterback. It's going to need time to adjust. Arkansas, they run it. They got a good defense. They're a very strong team. And I got them even. So I looked at Arkansas even. I said, Cincy, okay, with Ritter, but Ritter's gone. And Ford, their running back, is gone. So I said, okay. Now I see, okay, Arkansas wins, so we're happy. Cincinnati, now I learned that quarterback's not too bad. He's okay. He's not as good as Ritter, but 31-24 against Arkansas is a fairly good. I'm comfortable with them, but they're not as strong as last year. They're not a top 5 team. They're a top 15 team, right? Good, strong defense. Quarterback's not going to kill you. They'll learn how to run. So basically, it's a good defensive team. So they're probably more of an under, but okay. The over-under in the game was 53. Had I went under, which I circled, would have been under 58, and it was 55. So you would have won the under, thinking Cincy with the new quarterback's not going to do anything. But that's okay. Next game, Georgia-Oregon, over-under 52. Teaserking, what does he do? He goes under with Georgia, because I always, with that defense, and 49-3, and it wasn't even that close. And at the end, they just, rested. They could have scored more. So the final is 52. It lands on the number. You need the teaser. Boom. So with the teaser, we get the under in Georgia. I think that's 15-1, betting the under with Georgia since last year, or 14-1, whatever. We had one loser, that Alabama game. They laid down so Alabama could get into the playoffs. But when they tried, they killed them. So Oregon's terrible. I like the Georgia defensive coordinator's a rah-rah guy. That's a problem. You don't want a rah-rah coach. I think of Jerry Faust from Notre Dame. I think of Wayne Fonts with the Lions. This is a game of intelligence. This is chess. This is the professor doing chess, planning a gold heist. Not an emotional. You don't want an emotional because the emotion lasts 10 seconds. As soon as you get hit, the first play, the emotion's gone. Now it's talent and skill, and can your coach outthink the other coach? And I didn't see that at all from this guy at Oregon. I think they're in big trouble. Now, is Georgia as good as they looked? Normally, I would say no, but in this case, yes, they're better than last year. Is Oregon as bad as they looked? Well, they played Georgia, and they ain't going to, this was my point. Georgia lost 10 defensive players or the pros, but because it rotates, the other 10 still played a lot, still know the system and the schemes, and I don't think they missed a drop. I think now Georgia is recruiting athlete A or B, which is good for their defense, and they come in, and that's what they do. So with those athletes, they come in and here's the system, boys, and then they go run it. So it got close, but Georgia, it's funny. I can never watch a Georgia game because I always bet the under, and they always move. And so I just come back and go, what's the final? Okay, I won. So Oregon doesn't show me anything. The quarterback didn't show me anything. Georgia's better than Alabama all day. Georgia's number one. I don't care how they see. And this is the problem with the rankings. Why is Alabama one? Georgia's clearly the best team. They beat probably 8-9 pro teams. The pro teams don't have quarterbacks. All the like Jacksonville, I'd take Georgia over Jacksonville, over Detroit, over Houston. They got so much better talent than Houston does. It's a joke. The Jets, it's ridiculous. And I love when people argue, oh, the college team, they can. Yeah, this team, yeah, they could. They get better talent than a lot of the pro teams. So Georgia, easy winner under. Again, this is what they do. They put up the 40 and you don't score on them. You got 3 points. Oregon gets 3 points. Again, Oregon had a new quarterback, Bo Nix, who's not, he played at Auburn. He was shitting his pants. He knew what he was going to face because he faced them at Auburn, and there was no chance. So is he a good quarterback? I don't mind Bo Nix. I don't think he's a lot better than the kid they had last year. USC we gave. That was the free one. That was simply knowing Oklahoma, knowing he needed to score a ton, and he did, 66-14, knowing Rice has no offense and no defense. So I found an over team against the Z team, and they were only laying 32. If we compare it to Alabama at 42 against Utah State, this was only 32. This was a stronger offense than Alabama, and Rice is a much worse team than Utah State. So if we looked at it in terms of an investment and return on investment, the return on investment here was 10%. The return on investment in Alabama was 3%. So that's why I locked USC, was because they're only laying 32. Rice sucks. They have no quarterback. They're trying to run the ball. So what are you going to do? You're down 35-0 to USC. You're going to run the ball. Now USC's defense is weak. They're going to have trouble with Utah and USC, and it looks like Arizona. So when you look at that, it was an easy one, and you knew they were going to pile it on because now they can say, look at Oklahoma, it's USC, 66 points. And I heard a lot of that. Utah, Florida. I had Utah plus 3.5, needed the teaser. It was a close one, but it shouldn't have been. Utah, I don't understand the ending. It's 29-26. Rising, they're at the 5-yard line. Looks like he's got the guy wide open because he doesn't really wing. He just kind of tosses the ball. The tight end's going to be there. Looked like the tight end got interfered with, but of course they're not going to call that in Florida. And he throws the interception out. It was very strange because the body language, when you just saw Rising throw the ball, it was, there's a touchdown. The guy's wide open. and it's unfortunate. They should have got the tie and then go to overtime. Um, Now, Florida, Richardson. Okay, now here's the difference between Jefferson at Arkansas and Richardson in Florida. Richardson's looking to run. Jefferson's looking to throw, but can run. Jefferson's a good quarterback. Is Richardson a good quarterback? Now, the stats I saw was 2 years ago, and he was, 10 of 20 with 2 picks and 1 touchdown. So there wasn't a lot to go on. And I thought Florida was very weak at the end of last year. Now, I do like the coach. He's Louisiana Lafayette's coach with Levi Lewis. They won the Sun Belt. There's a very good coach. I have no problem with the coach. I like that. The key to the team is the coach. NFL, college, baseball, basketball, whatever sport, you need a good coach. You need a leader. You need a smart chess player. So Florida looks a lot better this year, obviously. Utah, I thought, should have won the game. I think they kind of blew it. I think they had that goal line stand. There was another, they got the ball at the 1, and they pitches back to the running back, and he falls at the 3. And then they get 4th down at the 1 and don't make it. Again, the running back fumbled. So Utah, that was 2 times at the goal line, they got nothing. So they should have won the game. They didn't, but they should have. They did cover in the teaser. Does that make Florida? Well, Florida's defense, Utah is an outstanding offensive team. So what do you get out of this? Florida's a very good team. They're probably, I'm going to call them a B team. They're not an A team yet, but beating Utah is very strong. But Utah kind of beat themselves with the play at the goal line in the 3rd quarter, and then the play at the end of the game where it looked like the guy was going to be open for a touchdown. So having Utah plus the 3.5 is a W, but Florida showed me a lot. I had the over circled, over 51, 52, and it went way over 55. Now we know Florida's quarterback. He's a good runner. He kind of reminded me a little at first of Vince Young. Oh, here comes a big, fast guy who's going to run, who can't throw. But I watched if you go on like YouTube, you can see the game in 20 minutes. They just kind of go through the highlights for you. So I think this guy's good. We'll keep an eye on him. But I think Florida definitely – they're not in Georgia's league. Don't ever get that confused. And I'm hoping if it's Georgia -7, we're going to sell the house, sell the cars, and bet it on Georgia -1 against Florida. But, Utah should have won the game. They kind of gave it away, unfortunately. Now, Clemson under 51, when under 57, it was 41-10, it was 51. Again, that was I had Georgia under with Clemson under. Clemson, their quarterback still sucks, but they brought in a new quarterback, and he looked pretty good. So what you got to do is keep your eye on it. If Clemson goes to the new quarterback, who's actually a good quarterback, they're not an under team anymore. They're going to score, and that defense, they turn into an A team. They are Georgia, Clemson, both better than Alabama. And then you got your Alabama. Ohio State looked like shit against Notre Dame. They got way outcoached, but we'll get to that in a minute. So Clemson under. I didn't think Georgia Tech would score. They got 10. They 41-10. That's about. I think that was the score I gave was mid-30s. I think I gave 35 or 38-0 and 41-10, but it still stayed under. Now, the key to the over-under in the Georgia game and the Clemson game was we had 50-point over-unders. So then to go under 56, there's no way with these defenses you're going to get a high-scoring game. That's the key to it. Now, if it was a 44, and I think there was one, you can't play it. Or if there's a 75 over, you just forget it. It's too – now the risk comes in. I explained the risk. What did I explain the risk on? USC, Alabama, right? USC, more explosive and playing a weaker team with a less point spread. The return on investment, the risk was much lower with USC than Alabama. the same thing with the over-unders, right? They're in the 50s. The risk of Georgia or Clemson going over is 0 because they're not. What did they give up? 3 points, 10 points. Clemson can't score. Now maybe they'll score more. We'll see. Now you check the box score next week and see if Clemson switched quarterbacks. They did. Now we can't play them under anymore. Maybe in certain cases where they play another good, strong, if they played Notre Dame, when I think they do, that'll be a very strong underplay. So Clemson under, another easy winner. Now talking here made me add one teaser. Now I added it early Saturday morning, 11 o'clock, right after the show. So if you buy from me, you go in and you see purchase picks and you see my picks. So if you come in, I'd suggest you come in Saturday morning, you come back Saturday at about 1 or 2, and I sometimes post night games. Sometimes it's a feel. I see the way the day's going, whatever, but it's not uncommon for me to throw in a Saturday night game, and that's what I did. I like to give you the feeling like at Caesars, and I'm at the window, and I get my feeling, and I go, I'm going to play this game, and it might be, I won't do that 20 minutes before the game. I might do it in Caesars 20 minutes before the game, but not on Teaserking. You're going to have the afternoon, but I could add a play. I might do that Sunday where I see the way the day is going. It might be 2 o'clock, and I will add to the 4 o'clock game. So check in with that. I try to email my customers that hey, I've added this game. So what did I do after watching? Well, okay. I added Kent State and Mississippi State over. Kent State went up to 23.5 or 24. And I said, Jesus Christ, 30 points in Kent State. There's no way. And so I take Kent State. They lose 45-20. So they lose by 25. We win because the point spread was high. Kent State's an extremely explosive team, and they get 20 on Washington. They give up 45. They got screwed on a touchdown, offensive pass interference, but we got the field goal, which was an absolute joke. The guy didn't do anything. So it should have been like 45-24. But anyway, 30 points to give Kent State. Washington's not that strong. Now, Penix looked good. Where was that when we were betting Indiana last year because of Penix? He doesn't show up. So I think Penix is like, oh, shit, I better play good now because nobody thinks I'm any good. So Penix looked good for Washington. Is Washington good enough to beat UCLA, Utah? I don't think so. But they're pretty good. Mississippi State and Memphis, 2 over teams. 2 returning quarterbacks. Mike Leach. Memphis is always scoring. Their quarterback, both quarterbacks return. And when both quarterbacks return on over teams, they got better, right? Because they got that first year, and now they know the system, and they're going to really do it. And Mississippi State wins 49-23, which is a 72. The over-under was 56. All they had to do was go over 50, and I was there early fourth quarter. I got that. So Kent State comes through playing with the Mississippi State Memphis over. Now it gets into the point of why I rank the teams. Ranking the teams, I can see Memphis is an over. Mississippi State's Mike Leach. I know that's an over. So now I can bet it over depending on what the line is, and the line's only 56. Like, hello, who the fuck's making the line? This is where my economics comes in, because what do? I teach you about the market, right? I teach you about my Canadian club saying the market says it's worth 50. And if they make it cheaper, then you sell it. And if they make it for 65, 70 and the market's 50, you got to stop selling it. Well, the market on this game, there's no way it was 56. How was this game only a 56? My market was in the 60s. So that's what I'm doing here when I'm telling you I take the game and I don't look at the line and I make my own line. That's the market. That's the $50 for the Canadian club. And I'm experienced enough to understand the market because I understand the teams. And that's the first thing I have to do is understand the teams, which is why I study and why I look at, do they have balanced offense and strong defense, and Clemson's an under, Georgia has a killer defense, and Alabama's an over, and all this. That's why I do it. So when I got a Memphis, Mississippi State, I know Memphis always scores. Mississippi State with Leach, they're going to put up numbers. And Memphis, neither team has a strong defense to stop the other team. Now, if this was Mississippi State, Clemson, or maybe they're going to get Georgia, the Mississippi State, Georgia, you can't go over because they're going to shut them out, right? Because Georgia shuts out everybody. So you can't expect Mississippi State to score. This only works when over plays over, which means strong offense, strong quarterback against a weak defense. Both sides have strong offenses and both sides have weak defenses, and you get a 49-23 game. That's how you bet the overs. That's how you find the overs. The next is, what is the point spread? If the line was 75, I don't bet it. I can't go over. 56 was a joke. 56, that means you tease it to 50. I mean, they probably, that was early fourth quarter. We hit 50 and we ended up with 72. So that's what we're looking for. The Clemson under, the Georgia under, strong defenses. So you have to learn the teams, which is what I do. And that's what you do. So that was the extra game. And then we'll talk about Notre Dame, Ohio State. I thought Ohio State I don't know if they got out-coached. They played a terrible game. If you're telling me all you got to do against Alabama, if you play two deep safeties, you're gonna beat them. That's it. They're not smart enough to have a counter move for two deep safeties. Really? That makes no sense. This is college. So the easiest way to beat any of these defenses is to flood it. What does flooding mean? Well, I'll put three receivers on one side. Now, what are you going to do with your two high safeties? One of them's on. You're dividing the left and right. So what good does if I put three guys on this side? So I got three receivers on this side. Who's this guy guarding? And he's responsible for this half, so he can't come over. So you're not going to have both safeties here, because then I can have a fourth receiver or a back come out of the backfield. If he goes here, this is wide open. If he stays, how's this guy going to cover three guys? I just beat your two high safeties. So I'm disappointed in Ohio State. 21-10 was a joke. It should have been much higher. Give Notre Dame credit on their defense. The quarterback stinks, which I knew. They're going to have trouble. They're now an under team. Very good defense. It looked like it. Now, is Ohio State as bad as they looked? Probably not. Let's give Notre Dame's defense credit for being like a Clemson defense. And when Notre Dame plays Clemson, the over-under is going to be, we're going to lock the under, right? So we're already looking ahead. Ohio State, are they going to be this bad? I look for them to kind of crush the next team because they look bad. Okay, so that's the thought process, picking the games. 10 picks, 10 winners. Now, if I go through everything, we hit the Tennessee game. Central Michigan, Oak State, we went over. Central's such a strong offense. That one. Penn State, Purdue, we took the home dog, Purdue. Now, I had 10 games. I gave them to you. These are just analyzing these games. Penn State, Purdue, took the home dog, easy winner. Louisiana Tech, Missouri, two over teams, took the over, 52-24, 76. The over-under was in the 50s. Again, I don't know how Vegas comes up with these numbers, but they're freaking, they're not even, they don't have a clue. Minnesota, New Mexico State, I picked 38-0. They were laying 38. See, now Minnesota is not an explosive offensive team. So you can't take them to blow out a New Mexico State. Now, they still won 38-0. The over-under was 56. I went under. because New Mexico State was not scoring. Minnesota's got a good defense. So them in Iowa and them in Wisconsin are going to be fun unders as long as I get in the 50s. See, that's where the point spread then. When Minnesota plays Iowa, if you get in the 50s, it's a lock under. If it's what it should be, 42, then it makes it really difficult to play the under. Michigan State minus 21 wins 35-13. They don't look too impressive. Really, I picked Michigan State just because I thought they have a good offense. Duke and Temple, 2 Z teams. Temple really sucks. Temple's the worst. They're in the top 5 for Z teams. And Duke, I don't know. So does Duke any good, or did they just play Temple? They both had running quarterbacks. Temple's guy couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So Temple's in trouble. See, everybody thinks, oh, I'll go to the running quarterback. Then I have 10 blockers and the quarterback can run. Yeah, but if he can't throw, the defense just puts in, let's put in 3 more safeties and take out some linebackers. And then when the guy tries to run, he ain't going anywhere. That's all you got to do. It's not that difficult. Duke had a running quarterback, but he looked like he can pass. Now, were you betting Duke? Not. This game didn't show me anything, Duke Temple, except how bad Temple is. I'm not all over Duke because I don't know. Illinois, Indy, I warned you about taking Illinois, the fact that they had killed Wyoming because it was at home. So what happened? They go at Indy and they lose 23-20. So they look great against Team A, Wyoming. I got pocket aces, you have pocket sevens, and I win. Now I play the next hand, and the next hand's at Indiana, and I get king, queen. And I lose 23-20. The hand changed. The location changed. The team changed. So you can't look at Illinois. Now, teams like Georgia and Ohio State, Alabama, you get the team that's pretty consistent. Illinois, who knows? I mean, they're running the ball a lot. They're more of an under team. They're more of a good defensive. I have them as an under. Now, I had Indy as a Z because Penix sucked last year. The quarterback's obviously a little bit better. So right now, this is the Missouri quarterback. So Illinois got the Syracuse quarterback from last year, and Indiana's got the Missouri quarterback from last year. So he's better than Penix. Is he great? No. They're still like a weak team, Indiana. Western Kentucky, Hawaii. Western Kentucky kills them. Hawaii looks just dreadful. They're still got to get used to. Timmy Chang's never coached. And this is my bitch about coaches that you hire that have never coached before. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's learning on the job. You can't learn on the job. The games are live. You can't learn. And Western Kentucky killed them. And Hawaii just looks pathetic. They're a Z team this year. So we're going to use that. Texas State, Nevada, same thing. Nevada beats New Mexico State 23-12. Now they got Texas State, and Texas State play the first week. Texas State comes up, and Nevada kills them 38-14. The line moves from Nevada -7 to Texas State -1 because the ding-dongs said, oh, Nevada barely beat New Mexico State. They must suck. Well, again, the game was at New Mexico State, a little bit high altitude. Here the game's in Nevada, also high altitude. Playing a Texas State team. So obviously, what do we get out of this? Is Texas State must be really bad. Nevada scored a lot, but they're not, we got to wait and see. But they looked a lot better this game. So again, this is what I'm telling you. Even though they barely beat New Mexico State, they had the game under their belt. Now it's game 2. They're getting comfortable learning routines. BC Rutgers, a surprise. I took BC -1. And they lost 22-21 to Rutgers. I didn't think Rutgers, they don't have a quarterback and very weak offense. I got them as an under. The under in the game did win. It was 48.5. So I thought it'd be an under game. But BC, Jerkovich is back, the quarterback who was back up at Notre Dame, who Notre Dame wishes they had. So they lose 22-21. You're like, what the hell? So Rutgers isn't as bad as we think, and BC's, so that's what you learn is let's keep an eye on record. They're not. So what I want is a Z team like Temple. I'm going to pound against them, or USC Rice. I'm going to pound against it. That's what we're trying to learn in week 1. But Rutgers, who we thought was a Z team, is not. They got some scoring in. They got a great coach. I always love the coach. So that's what you learn. Syracuse, 31-7 over Louisville. Shocking score. Louisville -5.5. Good offense. Again, the running quarterback doesn't show up. Syracuse pounds them 31-7. Good Lord. Both had returning quarterbacks. Now you got to watch Syracuse. They're not that bad. How strong is Syracuse will play out, but that's a team you watch. You go, hey, they're not bad. Louisville, you go, what the hell? They're supposed to have an explosive offense. I got them as an over team, and they get 7 on Syracuse. So either Syracuse found the Georgia defense or Louisville blows. So that's undetermined with one game. But after we get 2 or 3 games in, then we'll have a better flavor. Texas, Louisiana Monroe. Texas, again, they're an over team, another Z team, Louisiana Monroe, and they kill them 52-16. They were laying 38, so they win by 36, 26. 30. So they win by 36. You needed a teaser to win with them. That's why I didn't play them. I was a little afraid of their defense. And they put up the 52, so they covered. They're an explosive offense. We know that about Texas. New quarterback, but they're not the defense. They don't have. They don't have much of a running game. And Louisiana Monroe it's terrible, but they put up 16. All right. Buffalo, Mary 31-10. I had Mary laying 24 down to 18. They win. Buffalo scores 10. I thought they'd score more. I had Buffalo as an over team. They have a weak defense. I was surprised Mary only got 31 because they usually do well at home against weak teams like Michigan does. And I think Buffalo's a weak team. So, again, we'll have to keep an eye on both those teams. North Carolina, App State, pat myself on the back. So North Carolina's favored. I like App State as the dog. App State goes to favorite by 2.5. And what do I say? Tease the dog. So take North Carolina. They're an ACC team, and now they're embarrassed because they're the dog against App State in a game. Both App State's in North Carolina, and I didn't expect 63-61, but I do have North Carolina as an over. No defense, and App State's an A team. They have a strong defense, so that makes North Carolina look really good offensively that they can score like that on App State, and then App State very strong offensively. I had the over 56. I thought that would be no problem. Again, this over should have been in the 65, 67 range. It was 56. North Carolina's going to score, and App State, so I figured it'd be at least in the 30s. I didn't expect that ending where, touchdown, 2 plays later, touchdown, 2 plays later, touchdown. They scored 30 points in the last 2 minutes. That was crazy, but that's where you tease the dog. When you get the wrong team favored, and so my initial point was North Carolina -10. That was my market. Then it dropped to 2.5. Why it went to 2.5 App State, this is where I argue about the Sharps. Oh, the Sharps. Look at the Sharps. They all played App State. You can't play them as the favorite in this game. You've got to play North Carolina as the dog. When you get the better team, that Pac-10 team or whatever, and they're the dog to a team like this, if a Mountain West team's favorite over a Pac-10 team, unless it's the suckiest Pac-10 team, we'll look at Boise, Oregon State, we'll get to. The same thing. You had Boise as the favorite, then it went to Oregon State, and Oregon State kicked their ass. But you can't make Boise a favorite over Oregon State. They know the spread. They're going to get pissed off, and they got the better players because they play in a bigger conference. Michigan, Colorado State, 51-7. I don't know why they're making a quarterback controversy here. It really doesn't make any sense. Is it going to be McNamara? Is it going to be this other guy who sucks? See, the other guy's a running quarterback. Can he throw? No. He turned it over against Michigan State, and Michigan State beat Michigan last year. And I had Michigan State because of Walker, and he turns it over. McNamara fucking beat Ohio State for the first time in 25 years. And what part of that are you having doubts about? And all you want to do is be a running team now and play defense. You don't want to be a passing team because you've already proven Michigan cannot be a passing team. They can be a balanced team, and they need the running backs. And when they switched to a power running game last year, they went to the playoffs. That's what they're trying to be. So their quarterback's not an important position. McNamara is good enough. He doesn't turn it over, which is all you want. And then with that defense. So 51-7, Colorado State, absolutely a Z team, absolutely horrible. But again, that's against Michigan. We'll got to see them in conference against a medium type like Hawaii. Then we'll get a real flavor for Colorado State. And that's what you're looking for. NC State, East Carolina. NC State minus 11.5. I got East Carolina trying to beat Army. I thought the game would be under. It was because North Carolina is an A team. They got a really good defense. And at East Carolina, because they were down, they threw more East Carolina. And NC State wins 21-20. I hate when commentators think that they should always go for 2 points, like going for 2 points is automatic. What the fuck? I mean, it's not easy to get 2 yards at the goal line when the other team need the 2 yards. It's probably less than 10%. If you're up 27 points and you go for 2, you probably get it a lot of the time. But when the game's on the line, now how often are you going to get the 2-point conversion? It's fairly nil. You're not going to get it. So I had no East Carolina. I think I hit a button. Oh, I hit you. Am I still? Oh, I'm still there. Okay. I don't know what happened. I accidentally hit a button that brought up Google. So, all right. Sorry about that. So, anyway, you just go for 2, but they could have kicked a field goal to win. And so East Carolina, now it looks like them and Clemson, Miami, and Pitt are the teams to go after. They're the A teams in that league. So East Carolina, and I think they're in the Houston League. So look for them to be very tough. Bowling Green, UCLA, Cincinnati. We're talking UTEP, Oklahoma. So the line was 32. I bitched that the line was high, and they win by 32 exactly. So UTEP's not a Z team like Rice is against USC. UTEP is like Utah State. They're a pretty good team, although they're no UTSA. So don't get confused. Texas San Antonio is a very good team. Texas El Paso is okay, but not great. Oklahoma, a lot of transfers. They use the UCF offense with Dylan Gabriel, who looks okay. He didn't hurt them. So Oklahoma, we'll see. It's still a question mark. Are they an over team? Giving up 13 to UTEP doesn't tell you anything. It is just okay. So I'm not really sure what to make out of that. Oklahoma, decent offense. So they'll be a decent. I don't think they can handle Baylor. I don't think they can handle Oklahoma State. We will see. The key will be against Texas. I think that game is going to be hit 100, but that should be a big tell there. Arizona, San Diego State, very big lesson learned here. I had San Diego State, 6 down to even, good defensive team. Arizona sucks. They're a Z team. Well, the Arizona transfer or the trade, they get the Washington State quarterback, the Luka. Oh, well, he didn't do much at Washington State. Well, he comes in and lights it up. And he throws for 4 touchdowns. They score 38 on one of the top 10 defenses in the country, San Diego State. San Diego State's defense is under 20 normally. They put up a 38-20. I got Arizona with a terrible coach. I got the game under. everything changed. And this is the biggest thing I learned I learned two things. This is one, Arizona is no longer a Z team. And then now they are an over team because this quarterback, again, what do I say is who do they play? They didn't do this against, Cal Poly Pomona or, San Diego. They did it against San Diego State, a strong defensive team. They put up 38. That is how you read what happened. Now Arizona goes to an over team. They're going to score a lot. They're not a Z, and I'm going to have a hard time betting against them as a Z. But what does it change now? Arizona will play Utah over, UCLA over, USC over, Washington over. So all of a sudden, the overlight lights up for Arizona, but the Vegas lines won't catch on. They won't catch because they're going to use last year's stats. They're not going to catch Arizona as an over team. So we're going to get, this was a 46, 48. What do you think Arizona's over-unders are going to? Well, let's see. Next week, Arizona is playing Old Mississippi State. It's 61. That spread should be 70 easily. Mississippi State with Mike Leach with no defense, and this Arizona, the kid just put up 38 on San Diego State, so they're going to hit 50. Mississippi State's going to be a 100-point game. It's 61.5. Risk reward. What's your risk? It's 61.5. Now that's now. I guarantee you by Saturday, that 61.5 up to 67, 68. AKA get the fucking bet in now. These over-unders on Monday versus the over-unders by game time move a whole 6-7 points. So wink, wink, bet that over as soon as possible. But it's definitely 10 points under where it should be based on these guys putting up 38 on a strong San Diego State defense. Okay. That's how you read it. Was it a fluke? This is San Diego State. This isn't, had they done it to maybe Oregon or, I don't know, Vanderbilt or, Purdue, maybe it's not, but against San Diego State, yeah, that's the real deal. Houston, UTSA, just as I thought, Houston was a 4-point favorite. Tease the dog when 2 A teams are playing, which is what you have. UTSA is an A team. Houston's an A team. Houston's very strong this year. 37-35 Houston, exactly where it should have been. I had over was 62. It was an over game, and it was a tease the dog game, and they came right in. UTSA is a very strong dog against the Houston, not against the Georgia or Ohio State. But when they play like opponents, UTSA, they're like Army, man. Just tease the dog. When they're the dog, especially here, they get 4. You got 10 points. Tulsa, Wyoming, another warning. Wyoming loses to Illinois 38-6. What do I tell you? They're going to be pissed off and play again. They're at home against Tulsa. And they found 40 points and beat Tulsa 40-37 as a home dog, getting 6.5. This is good coaching. And they're a well-coached team. But this is my point. So when they played Illinois, they're at Illinois. They get 3-9 offsuit. Well, they can't do anything. They get blown out. Now they're at home. They look at pocket aces. They're a home dog to Tulsa, they're a pretty explosive team. I have them as an over, but that means they have no defense. So you have Tulsa laying 6.5 at Wyoming, who are pissed off after a loss. Keep in mind these teams that lose, if they're good teams and good coach, they're going to come out pissed, which is exactly what they did. So Illinois relaxed. Indiana beats them. Wyoming gets crushed. They play their best game of the year, and they win 40-37. That's what you got. So you got to see what happened. You want a pissed off team. That's why I liked Ohio State over Notre Dame. Ohio State lost to Michigan. That you don't understand. That's critical. So with that said, you've got Ohio State really pissed off. So they beat Notre Dame. They should have beat them by much more, but that shows you Notre Dame's not that bad. Good defense. So that's what happens here. Wyoming, pissed after losing, comes on. Now you got BYU, South Florida. BYU, 18, very strong. Love the quarterback. See, he's a pocket passer who can run. That's the type of quarterback that my one friend here keeps charming about Lamar Jackson. And I keep saying, but he doesn't know how to be a quarterback. He's a running back that can't throw accurately. Well, these guys, the BYU guy, Jefferson at Arkansas, these guys are quarterbacks who can run. There's a big difference. Those are Russell Wilson and Mahomes type. That's what you want. BYU 50, South Florida 21. I have South Florida as a Z. BYU as an A. Good quarterback. Hall for BYU. I got a weak coach. Yeah, the coach sucks at South Florida. And I think the Baylor backup is the quarterback. Yeah, I think that's what I got. So the new quarterback at South Florida was a backup at Baylor. They put up 21 on BYU. So now is BYU this strong, 50-21? Now, if this was UCF, that's a different story. Again, who did they beat? Now, it's good they won in Florida, but beating South Florida doesn't really tell a lot. This week, they play Baylor. Now, if they beat Baylor 50-21, BYU should win the national championship. But beating South Florida, that's what expected. Scoring a lot, yeah, they got a really good quarterback. So South Florida is gonna be either a Z team or an over team. Right now, they're a Z team. Troy and Mississippi. Troy is kind of an under team. Mississippi, I have as an over team. Lane 21, I had Ole Miss down to 15. They went by 18, 28-10. I didn't bet it because I don't trust Mississippi, and I don't know who Troy is at the point. Ole Miss has Dart, the quarterback from USC, as their quarterback. He looked okay. Again, they played Troy 28-10, let the quarterback at it. It's funny how Slovis and Dart and J.T. Daniels, all USC quarterbacks are all playing somewhere else. And then the kid from Oklahoma comes in, and I don't know what to make. I like Slovis the best because Kurt Warner trained him. But here again, Dart from USC. It's a very strange world we live in college football now, where these guys get recruited, they're okay, they get beaten out, they go cry and go to another school so they can play. It's good and it's bad. It's good that they can play, like Dart can show what he can do at Ole Miss, but you wonder, well, you got beat out by two guys at USC. Then a kid from Oklahoma comes, he beats you out. You're probably not very good. That's how I take it. And if you're really good, you'd have stayed at USC and been the starter. So it's a really tough, and then they transfer, and it just shows no loyalty, kind of. It says I'm an individual and I'm doing what's best for myself, but I'm not loyal to the team. And that kind of bothers me because football is a team sport. So I don't really trust this Dart guy, but Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, I can't trust him. What did he do? He ran from Tennessee and he killed USC for 10 years. So I'm not a big Lane Kiffin fan either. So 28-10 doesn't tell me a lot. It says Ole Miss is pretty weak. Troy doesn't show me anything. Florida Atlantic, Ohio, another game I said be careful. Florida Atlantic kills Charlotte 43-13. But I find out Reynolds, the superstar quarterback of Charlotte, got knocked out. He's out. So he didn't even play, and they lost to William and Mary last week. So now I'm questioning Florida Atlantic, and I warn you, they're road favorites at Ohio. Careful, and Ohio beats them 41-38. And that's my point. You got to be very careful. So Ohio beats them. The game wasn't in Florida. Florida Atlantic, they have Perry, the quarterback from Miami, who got beaten out by Van Dyke. See, Van Dyke doesn't leave. He starts. That's Van Dyke and Rising are my guys. I got Ohio with a weak offense, but they put up 41 on Florida Atlantic. Go figure that out. So Ohio, I don't know. Florida Atlantic looks like an over team now. as does Ohio. So again, now Ohio, that's a good team for them to beat Florida Atlantic. They're a good team. So we'll see, but we got to see. Again, Ohio wins at home, Florida Atlantic. So now that's why it matters where the game's at. So did I learn? I learned Florida Atlantic doesn't have a defense, but they have a good offense. So they're a good over team. In conference, they'll be a good over team and probably a live dog unless they play some of the strong teams in their league. Army, Coastal Carolina, my Army, lose 38-28. I don't play it because I'm scared of the passing offense of McCall, and I was right. McCall, lane 2, wins 38-28. I did pick it over, which would be 54 down to 48, and they score a 40 to 70, a 66. So go figure, Army in the 66-point game. They scored 28. Coastal Carolina gets the 38, which I had said Western Kentucky got 35 on them and Wake Forest 70 on them last year. So against a real good passing team, Army has a little bit of a problem, but nobody's stopping McCall. Coastal Carolina, that guy's a great quarterback. So the over win. Again, I stayed away. See, there was too much risk. So where I'm talking risk and reward USC and Rice, I'm taking the same thing. Taking Army was extremely high risk against this type of team with the strong quarterback, but I don't want to bet against Army, so I didn't play the game. That's why sometimes I play over unders. I know the teams are pretty high scoring, but I don't want to play the dog or the favorite because I really don't. There's a lot of risk in who's going to win, but I don't have much risk in Georgia, Oregon. I knew Georgia was going to win, but it was such a low risk betting the under. That's why I did it. So you're trying to look at the risk. Tennessee was no risk to kill Ball State. UCLA, Arkansas, Cincy. I didn't think was a lot of risk for Arkansas to win. After watching the game, there was more risk than I thought, but it was okay. UMass, Tulane. Tulane's an over team. UMass is Z team, lane 28. Tulane, pick Tulane. They win 42-10. They win by 32. Just simply a over team beating a Z team. Now, how strong's Tulane? I don't know, but as far as Mass, I know they suck. So UMass is a Z team, and off you go. Liberty, Southern Miss. Liberty's an over against Southern Miss is a W. So you expect Liberty to win their lane 3.5. They win 29-27. So it's a little bit surprising, but Liberty's had their problems. They have the quarterback is from Baylor. I think it's Brewer, who was pretty good last year at Baylor. But Southern Miss is playing better with the new quarterback. So 29. So I take out of this, Liberty's not as good, but Southern Miss is better because they were a W team. They have found an offense, Southern Miss. So you can't just blow like Mess. I'm just going to bet against because they suck. Southern Miss getting better. Are they much better? We don't know, but they played Liberty good. So Liberty's okay. They're still not an A team, and I don't know if they're they're kind of an over team. They scored 29-27 is more of an over score. Miami of Ohio, Kentucky. I like Kentucky. I didn't understand that line dropping from 19 to 15. Who the hell's betting Miami of Ohio against Kentucky? Kentucky is a very strong team. I had them as a B. After the game, I have them as an A. They win 37-13. They win by 24. Quarterback looks very good. Strong defense, strong running. Kentucky's a very strong team. Miami of Ohio is okay. They're a good MAC team, but not. You're going to go to Kentucky. You're not beating Kentucky. Is better than Tennessee. They're as good as Florida. They're a notch under Georgia, but Kentucky's got talent. They got a defense. They've got a quarterback. They can run. They are a very good team. They're like Penn State, let's say. Miami of Ohio was never going to win that game, and it was 37-13. South Carolina, Georgia State. Georgia State, 35-14, South Carolina. Rattler, I'm not sold on. I think if he couldn't do well at Oklahoma, he's not going to do well at South Carolina. Beating Georgia State, I have as an even team. So they scored 25, give up 25. South Carolina only got 35 on them, and they got 14 on South Carolina. So South Carolina to me is they're Purdue. They're an average team. I don't think they're great. We'll see, but you don't learn a lot against beating Georgia State. You learn more from Georgia State going, oh, they put up 14 on South Carolina, so they're okay, not great. SMU, North Texas. North Texas had beaten UTEP 31-13. The line went from 8 to 10. I loved SMU. SMU wins 48-10, lights it up. Strong offense. We all know they're an over team. North Texas is an E team. So they're okay, but they're not, they're going to play 28 games. But when you face an SMU is just going to light you up, and that's what they did. So 48 points. North Texas got 10, which shows they really don't have much of an offense because SMU's defense is not superstar. Unless it's better this year, because they throw the ball so much, they never let their defense rest. Therefore, they tend to give up more points. So even if they have a really good defense, it's sort of like Alabama. Alabama scores so fast that they do not let their defense rest. That's why they have problems in the big games. They're not resting their defense. And I don't care how good it is, it gets tired in the fourth quarter, and that's when you're going to lose the games. So SMU looks beautiful again, very strong offensively, a good over team, and they're going to score. They're a good dog unless they play like SMU Houston's going to be a really good game. Probably take the dog in that one. Memphis, well, we talked about Utah State, Alabama. Now, I mentioned that several times. Alabama laying 42. Now, why I didn't like it is Utah State's a B team. And like I said, the risk taking USC Rice was far greater, far less than this game because Rice is terrible. They're only laying 32, so I'm laying 26. Here I'm laying 42. They're going to win by 36. Now they covered 55-0. I thought Utah State would get 14 points. The over-under was 62. You don't get the over. You got to bet Alabama under, which why would you do that? So it really was a bad play. Again, Alabama shuts them out, covers, but that's a lot of risk to take in Alabama. Boise and Oregon State. I love Oregon State. Very well balanced. Chase Nolan, like a superstar. Boise had trouble. Their quarterback threw 3 picks in the first quarter. Game was over. 34-17, Oregon State. Gotta love them. Boise, they've gone downhill. They don't have Kellen Moore. They got rid of their coach. They're not the same A team that they were. So, but they only laid 2.5 in this game. They should have been 10-point dogs, but Vegas hasn't adjusted. It's Boise. It's popular. People are going to bet them. So the line is not market. So keep that in mind. LSU, Florida State. What is LSU doing? Oh, my God. They go to the running quarterback. You've got the best receiver in pro football. His name's not Boucher, but it's really close. You guys, number 7. Fastest guy, quick, great moves, great hands. You got him the ball twice. You don't even run a reverse with them. You got a running quarterback in who can't hit the broadside of a barn. Are you out of your mind? Why would you go to a running quarterback with these receivers you got and the runners? So what does it do? It takes the receivers out of the game. Boucher didn't catch a pass till the fourth quarter. And then he only caught 2 short ones. Like, what the fuck are you doing, Brian Kelly? You cannot go to a running quarterback. And the quarterback that you replaced is very good. He got injured, but he was very good 2 years ago. He's the quarterback that should be quarterbacking LSU. Now, as far as LSU got a miracle at the end, down a point, you got to go for the tie. I heard this one announcer say, oh, he made a bad call, should have went for the win. No, you don't go for the win, as I've explained, especially against this Florida State defense. You are not going to get the 2-point conversion more than 10%. You're going to kick the extra point 99%. Now, it got blocked, but that was the right. Go to overtime. You've got a great offense, your quarterback barring. And that was absolutely the right move because you're going to make the kick if it's not blocked, but going for two, you miss it, you lose. I got LSU. I got all this explosive offense. I'm going, and I just scored. So Florida State's tired anyway. No, that's the right move. I would always go for the tie, and then let's go to overtime. Because it doesn't make because it's like going for it on fourth down at your own 40, 4th and 2 at your own 40. What the fuck are you going for it for? Risk and reward. You get no reward for your risk. 4th and 2 at your own 40. All right, you pick it up. Now what do you got? 1st and 10 at your own 42. What did you gain? Nothing. You're resting your defense, I guess. That's all I could get out of it. But if you don't make it, you fire up the other team. So you give them all the emotion, and they're going to score at least a field goal because you gave them the ball at the 40. So your risk is you're going to lose the game, give up emotion, and give up the points. Your reward is nothing. Why would you make that play? It makes no fucking sense. These coaches, they're going to this algorithms, and the algorithms are full of shit. And I don't know what they're doing, but they're not. Whatever they're doing is not good. So that's why you have 11 different coaches in the pros because they get fired because they make these idiotic decisions of going for it at their own 39 and 29 and 40 on fourth down. Like they think it's oh, well, it's 4th and 2. We'll get it 99% of the time. Bullshit. When you line up in a 4th and 2 at your 40, what do you think the defense is going? They don't respect us. It pisses them off. And the chances of you getting it are maybe 10% versus a reward of nothing. All right, we got the ball at the 41. We still aren't close to it. It's not like, oh, we get it because we need to tie the score. It's late in the 4th quarter. Then I get it, right? If you're in the 4th quarter, like LSU, all right, we're down a touchdown. There's a minute left. Of course you're going to go for it on 4th down. But not in the 2nd quarter at your own 40. You just lost the game. That's why you're not coaching because you're clueless on what to do. Anyway, so that's my thought about that. So LSU made the right decision. Anybody that says they should go for 2 is a freaking idiot because your odds on getting it are very, very small. Because the other team knows you've got to go for it now. And it's not the games when, okay, what do I talk about? The back against the wall. What does that mean? Do or die, right? It's do or die. We have to win this game or we're out, right? Otherwise, so our season's over if we lose this game or we've got to win it. Alabama, Georgia in the playoff game, in the SEC championship game, back against the wall, Alabama, but not for Georgia. Georgia's in. Alabama has to win because if they have 2 losses, they're out. Back against the wall, they play their best game. But when they played in the championship game, Georgia's back was against the wall and they kicked their ass. So when you got the ball at the 1 yard line or at the 2 yard line, you just scored. What does that do? Now Florida State's back was against the wall. If they make it, we lose. That's a whole different mindset than just a regular, it's 20-10 and they're going for 2. Okay, you're probably going to get it more often when you're doing it like that, but it's stupid. There's no point. The only time I would go for 2 is if I'm down 2 and I need it at the end of the game to tie it. Otherwise, I never go for 2 because it's not easy to do. It's not easy to get 2 yards. Look at how many times. Look at Utah. Fuck, they had the ball at the 1 yard line. They couldn't score twice. Don't tell me it's easy to get a yard or 2 yards, especially at the goal line, because there's no room. The defense is stacked, and the defense is backs against the wall. If you go for 2, and when the back's against the wall, you're not going to get it. You're going to get a 1 in 50. So this whole bullshit of going for 2 and going for 4th down is a loser's mentality, and the teams that do it tend to lose. Very, very rarely you're going to win doing idiotic things like that. So now the next thing. Now these stats you got to ignore because these teams played Division II teams. Now I'm just going to quickly read you the names of the teams, but you can get that from Yahoo. Just go at the scores and you'll see like Western Kentucky played North Dakota. So ignore that. Vegas, 52-21 over, Cal Poly Pomona. Is Vegas a strong offensive team? I don't know. Let's see them play a regular team. So Western Kentucky, Vegas, Florida State the first week, 47-7, although then you can take yesterday's game into it. North Carolina, Toledo, 37-0, UCF, Florida International. And again, it's only the game when they played the Division II. Wake Forest, Northern Illinois, UAB. They won 59-0. You got to throw it out. It skews their points, although they are a very good team. Arizona State, San Jose State, Fresno State, Kansas, 56-10. Is Kansas really a 56-10 team? I don't know. They might have an offense this year. This is what we'll watch, but they're not that good. Iowa winning 7-3 is a red star going, fuck, they couldn't score a touchdown on South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits. I mean, they couldn't score. They couldn't move. They're the best under team I've ever seen. But that's what you take out of it is Iowa's no offense. A&M, the Navy lost to somebody, 14-7. They didn't score. Connecticut wins 28-3 over Coastal Connecticut, and they played Utah State pretty good. So are they a Z team is really the question. Virginia, the Air Force, Iowa State, Miami, 70-13, my man Van Dyke. Nebraska beat some crap team. Marshall, Cal, South Alabama, Georgia Southern, Kansas State, Wisconsin, Ark State, Lou Lafayette, Auburn, Baylor, Stanford, it's cute. They beat Colgate 41-10. Colgate. Stanford's playing Colgate. They went 41-10. What the fuck is that? And I noticed, I checked the box score, and it's like Colgate missed 3 field goals. And, I'm just thinking, is Stanford that strong? We'll find out. They play USC this week. Then they do 41-10 on USC is a different story. Texas Tech and New Mexico. New Mexico wins 41-0. They're not that type of team. So I think they're a Z team. But so these you got to take away from the stats. Since we do stats, and I go, well, this team scores 30 and gives up 20, or they score 40 and give up 30. But you've got to take this either week 1 or week 2. They play like Nebraska. Week 1, they played and lost to Northwestern. Week 2, they beat, Delaware or whatever. You've got to throw out the Delaware game. So what did Nebraska? Big Nebraska. Where is Nebraska? So they won 38-17 over Division II teams. So you got to throw that out and go back to the Northwestern where they lose, 34-31. And that's the Nebraska real team. This is not, and this is Division II. After a loss, they only win 38-17. This is not a strong team, but you've got to take that out because we use the numbers. This is what I hate about college. They play these Division II teams. And the only thing you take out of it is Navy lost I think they lost to Delaware 14-7. I mean, you're going, fuck, Navy scored 7 on a Division II team. And that's why you don't bet these Division II. You don't know who they are. Look at the Iowa game. It's 7-3 against South Dakota State. Is South Dakota State this great team? I know North Dakota State tends to win that championship, so give them credit. South Dakota State, I don't know. I like the name, the Jackrabbits. It's a cool helmet, but I'm not, so that's why I don't bet them, because it's like betting the preseason. You don't know who they are, and you got to throw the stats out. So I got to adjust all the numbers. So Nebraska's got to be 34-31. They give up 34. They score 31. They got to be an over team. Not that you got to throw out the 34 because it'll skew it. Now, at the end of the year, it probably won't matter. What'll matter is New Mexico 41-0. That will definitely skew it. A&M 31-0. No. Arizona State 43. No. UAB no. the Vegas 52-21 will definitely skew their stats. But you'll make a mental note when they play a team. Now, if UNLV beats Nevada, who's not that great, but okay, then the stats won't be, and they get blended in, but in the beginning they don't. After 10 weeks, it's not that noticeable. The biggest one was Maryland 2 years ago, put up a 70-0, and it skewed them the whole. And then I took the 70 out, and their offense went from 30 a game to 20 a game. Now that goes from an over to an under very quickly. So you have to take that into consideration. I will go through the balanced offenses now or tonight, today, just to see who got who got the 200 and 300. And then I wrote the lines down for next week, and I've already found 5 locks. I got 5 locks next week. Looking at it for a total of 1 hour, putting in my own lines, and then watching, either the over, under, or that. One other team that played Division II that I caught was Washington State. Their defense looks incredible. Probably as good as Baylor's. Not up to Georgia standards, but up to Baylor. They're a very good defensive team. Now, yes, they played a Division II team, but their defense looked really good. So keep that in mind. Washington State is a defensive team, not the normal Mike Leach high-scoring team. I think they played, Cal State Fullerton or something like that. But they played Idaho, who was a Division I team up until a year or two ago. And it's a rivalry. They're apparently 10 miles apart. They're right on the border. And Idaho came to play. I'll tell you, that was a rivalry game, and Idaho was sticking them. And Washington State's defense looked good. So that's a twist that, look what I found, just like I found the maybe Florida's a little bit better, or Kent State's strong offensively, but that's a nugget that I found, is Washington State being a little bit stronger on defense than we're used to seeing them. So anyway, I will do a pro video probably tonight. I'm off for the holidays, so I want to enjoy. So I've already posted those. So go to www.teaserking.com. I advise you to buy these early before the line moves. There's a couple of over-unders that I am definitely afraid of the line moving, and advise all my clients to get the bet in as soon as possible. So they have done that. But that's, you get an over-under. You gotta get it. I know they fuck around with these things. So they'll put out an over-under, like Colorado Air Force, over-under's 45.5. It could easily end at 52, or it ended 40. I don't know which way this is. Air Force is the A team. Colorado is the weak team, the W. But I guarantee it won't end at 45. But if I like the game over or under, probably if I liked it over, I would bet it now at 45.5. I don't, because Colorado won't score. Air Force is much the better team. Let's see. All right, here's an over. Ohio and Penn State are 2 over teams. Penn State gave up all the points to Purdue, and Ohio beat that Florida Atlantic team that's pretty good. So there you go. There's an over and over team, so they can both score and both have average defenses. The over-under is 53.5. I guarantee you that over-under is 60 by Saturday. So if you like that bet, now that is not one of my picks. I would have jumped on it now, teased it over 47.5 instead of waiting till it hit 60 and teasing it back down to 54. Now, of course, I check injuries. Now, if there's a late injury, we're fucked. But at this point, I've checked all the injuries and all my plays look fine. You got some live dogs next week. You got Army as a dog. You got Houston as a dog to Texas Tech. Iowa State is a live dog to Iowa. You've got Kentucky is a live dog against Florida. Kent State's getting a lot of points from Oklahoma, 31. That's a pretty live dog there. Let's see. Michigan 50 over Hawaii. You got to be kidding me. You've got Oregon State as a dog. You got Baylor as a dog. Jesus Christ. How the fuck can you make Baylor the dog? Now, BYU is a good team, but Baylor's much the better team there. Mary plays Charlotte. Check on the quarterback. If Reynolds is out, Mary will kill him. But if Reynolds plays, that automatically goes to an over. Now, where I'm confused is the over-under on this game 66, and Reynolds is not listed as he's listed as doubtful. So, again, without Reynolds, this game does not go over, and with Reynolds, it will. So I don't know. I guess they're anticipating Reynolds to play. Good game, Tennessee Pitt. Pitt's a live dog. Wisconsin, Washington State. Washington State's a live dog. A&M, App State. App State's a live dog. Notre Dame, Marshall. I think Marshall's a live dog. Notre Dame's laying 18. You get 24 in a good Marshall team. And Notre Dame shows they can't score. Probably being under because I don't think Notre Dame. I don't know. They don't show me a lot at this point. Again, it's a rah-rah coach. I need a chess master as my coach, right? That's who I need coaching me, not the emotion. I need the brains. I need a guy who's smart enough. They're too deep zone. How do we beat it? Here's how we beat it. That's what I need. Alabama, Texas. Alabama laying 20. How can Texas stay within 20 of that of Alabama? That's oof. I have Alabama laying 17 in that, but it could be 25, and that'd be about right. Alabama will kill them. Texas doesn't have – see, when I look at that game, they don't have a defense, Texas. So Alabama's going to go up and down the field. They'll put pressure on Texas, which will stop Texas, and it'll be, the typical 52-14 Alabama win with 6 sacks, 2 pick sixes, and a punt return. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into the next week, but again, I've got 5 locks in the books. Now, what I've done with my customer Alex, I played a 5-team teaser already. So I get 20% of his win total. So if he bets $1,000 and I give him the 5 teams, so I'm picking, it's a 5-team teaser. He bets it. Who wins the 1,000? I get 20%. I get 200. He keeps 800, or whatever he wants. So if it's a 500, I get 20%. So I get 100. It's whatever he bets, but I give him the 5 games, and then I get the percentage for giving him the picks. So anybody wants to do that, that's how I do it. You just pay me on PayPal after the game wins. If you're interested, I can do 2-team. Well, 2-team, you just buy the package. But if you want to do 5 or 10-team teasers, as you see on my Twitter, I hit 10, 11-team teasers. The tickets are up there. As far as if you want to play a 10-team or 11-team, I had one guy who played the Delaware lottery. So it was like we had to play like 15 teams. And I kept going 14-1 for the guy. I felt so bad missing and I would nail every game but the one. But it was just, and again, it was a standard card, so the lines were theirs and that. But if you want to play that, I'm certainly eligible to play that. But I get 20%. So you got to understand, if you win, I get a percentage for giving you the winners. Outside of that, still going with the year special, $750. If you've already been with me, it's $650. I got a couple guys paying me in chunks, so it's like three and a quarter, three and a quarter. I give them a couple weeks to come up with the other three and a quarter, and then we go from there. So that's how I do it. Again, 10-0 week one. Pros. See, the difference with college and the pros is the pros have so much more risk in it. Finding the Georgia and Alabama in the pros and Ohio State is extremely difficult. There aren't any, which makes all the dogs pretty live. With this week off, makes the unders extremely attractive. One friend likes the over in the San Diego Open game, and I go, well, normally if this is week 5, yeah. Week 1 after a bye, I don't know you're going to get an over. I don't know if any game's going to get it. Brady, I don't know. Rogers, I don't know. It's very difficult. It's going to take them a whole first quarter to get used to it. Now, whether you will get scoring is in the fourth quarter when the defense is tired because they haven't played. How do you just throw the defense out and go play 4 quarters? Not a problem. But don't get hurt. Nobody should get hurt. See, I think none of the players should play because they might get hurt. And I was surprised, like Ohio State, Notre Dame, that the players, the good stars played. I would have thought they wanted to get ready for the pros and not play so they wouldn't get hurt because they're all freaking babies. It's funny how they'll sit out the bowl game. Nobody on Notre Dame, Ohio State sat out, right? If this was a bowl game, a meaningless bowl game, the whole team would have sat out, right? Look at Pitt. Pickett sat out the bowl game because he was scared to get hurt. Well, why did he play against Clemson? He might have got hurt last year, or in the championship game in Miami. He might have got hurt? So why is it the bowl game they're worried about getting hurt, but not like the Clemson game or the Pitt Penn State or Pitt West Virginia? That was pretty hard hitting. I think most of the players should have sat out so they wouldn't get hurt. What a bunch of crap this is, getting this sit out, get hurt. I can't stand that. Anyway, one quick note on gold. Please buy it. The Black Swan event will be when Saudi Arabia says we are now open to take any currency. Right now, there's an agreement with the U.S. and Saudi that Saudi sells oil in U.S. currency. That's why the U.S. is supposedly the wink, wink reserve currency of the world. And that's why they think they can print it to death. But what will happen is nobody wants it anymore. She was pretty when she was younger, but now she's not pretty anymore. And people are getting off. So Saudi Arabia will make that announcement. Gold will shoot through the roof. Good luck finding gold and silver. It's very much harder and harder to find, and it will go up. It's a lock. There's no problem. And if you need money now, you just go sell an ounce of gold and you'll get your money. So it's not if you paid $1,800 for it and you go to the coin store and says, okay, I need money, they'll give you $1,800 right back for it. It's all dependent on where the COMEX is. But again, that's the paper money versus the versus the physical. And all we care about is physical. And to answer another question, JP Morgan owns the Federal Reserve, and these fucking idiots on YouTube don't have a clue. Anyway, 2 questions came up. One, I can't remember the first one. The second one was my units. So the lock I played this week is coming up is 21 units, but I didn't play it for 2,100. I played it for less, and the question was, why is it not 2,100? And I said, because the 21 units is it doesn't mean that's if I play 100 a unit, but I'm not playing 100 a unit because I've been buying gold and silver. So some of the units are less, and I'm building the bankroll, then it'll be back to normal. So right now, plus it's new the year, so I'm being a little more tentative building my bank. I don't want to get caught in a hole, so I'm trying to because I got so much money in gold and silver, I do not want to touch it and sell my gold. Now I want to wait till it's 30, 40,000 an ounce to sell my gold. So with that said, what I'm trying to point out mostly are units. Bet however much you bet on your unit, you bet it's a 21 unit play. Well, what do you bet your 21 units for? It doesn't mean, so let's say you're playing $50 a unit. It doesn't mean take 21 times 50 and that's what you get in dollars. You're just going to play it stronger than, so if I'm a $25 a unit player and I see the lock for 21, I might play it for $250. That's all I'm saying is the strength, all the units is I love the game this much. I love it more. A 15 unit lock versus a 21 means I love the 21 unit play more than I love the 15 unit play, but I love the 15 unit play also. So that's all that means. So just play your units. Don't worry about my amount. Worry about my unit, and my unit is telling you the strength of the bet, and then you make your bet in accordance to your bankroll and your units. And it's not necessarily I'm playing $50 a unit times 21. It could be, all right, I'm going to play $300 on this 21 unit play. Don't get confused. I'm just trying to show strength. And if I like this game stronger than that game, bet it stronger. It's all risk and reward. It's the professor looking at, I'm playing chess. What does this move do? What is this bet? I don't want to get too strong with it or too weak. So that's what you need to take away from the unit, is that's what you're doing, right? So you're absolutely figuring out what your units is and then how much you want to bet. And then all I'm trying to do is, if we bet the same amount on two teasers, we're going to probably lose, because we're going to win one teaser and probably lose the other, go 3-1 and lose the juice. So what I'm trying to do is differentiate the bet. So we want to win the bigger bet. And if we lose the smaller, because I can't go 10-0 every week, although I certainly am having fun and trying to. So if I go 10-0, it doesn't matter. But if I go 9-1, we're going to lose one bet. And so I want to make sure. So if it's a normal 2 teaser week, and mine are never 2 teasers, then you're going to win one and lose one. You're going to lose money. But if we bet differently on one than the other and we win the bigger bet, then we win, even though we went 3-1. We won one bet and lost the bet, but we won because we bet more money on that bet. That's the point of it. Anyway, so 10-0 week 1, five lock. Now, 5 locks means 5 teams locked. It doesn't mean 5 teaser lock plays. I don't have 10 teams in the teaser, but with 5 locks, you can bet a 5-team teaser or a 4-team teaser, and you can put them in multiple teasers. I do that a lot. So I find it, Tennessee, UCLA. Had it been middle of the year, I would have played UCLA in 3 teasers. I'd have played them with USC. I'd have played them with Arkansas. I'd have played Tennessee, with USC. So that's what I tend to do when I find that team that I love. I put it in multiple teasers because I love it. It's already there. That's a winner. So let's win more. I mean, that's the point when you do find it, to play more of it. Any questions, comments? You guys have been quiet, listening like good students. So 10-0 week 1. Throw out the Division II games. The Iowa States and the Miami 73, take it off their points. You want just the averages of the games against Division I. Even if it's a Rice, USC, I won't take off because they played a Division I team. But Stanford beat Colgate. I'm not counting those. Beating Colgate doesn't really do much for me. So anyway, so that's why I ranked the teams. So now I look for over teams, unders. And a lot of it's based on the scoring, but it's also based on who they beat. So Florida State gets a big bonus for beating LSU. Notre Dame played okay against Ohio State, but Ohio State looked kind of bad against Notre Dame. Michigan, you didn't get a read on. So a lot of games. Penn State won at Purdue. That's a good win. Anytime you go on the road and win and then playing a good team, that's good. So all that comes into play. So anyway, I think I already posted 10 plays for this week. It doesn't take me long because I've already absorbed the teams. So I put in my market, my spread. So like I have Boise 21 over New Mexico, the real line 17. Okay. And you play that. The only one that's really strange is I had Pitt -7 against Tennessee because they're at home, and Tennessee laying 7. That one I don't agree with. That's a really strange switch because I would have thought Pitt at home would have been favored. But again, it's SEC, and that's where I don't believe it's market. Now I got Air Force 10 over Colorado. It's 18. Oh, okay, that's a bit high. And I had Oregon State favored over Fresno State, and they got Fresno State favored. So I'm like, oh, okay. That I like Oregon State is then Oregon State's a live dog because just looking at it, it's an even game. Tease the dog, and I thought I was going to take Fresno State, but I let the spread dictate who I'm betting, and the spread says you're taking Oregon State because they're the dog. Let's see what else. Kentucky, Florida, same thing. Tease the dog. Florida's 4.5 point favorite. I have Florida -7 because they're at home, but I know Kentucky. This game's dead even. Florida played good beating Utah, but Utah twice got down there and didn't score. Kentucky will score when they're down there. It's a big difference. Kentucky's a real strong team. This game's dead even. And Florida's going to be a little flat. It was their first game, the new coach, and they beat Utah on a kind of a fluke interception. So I look for Kentucky to come in, and Florida could be a little flat here. Like I said, you get that emotional win. Let's see. Michigan, I had 42 over Hawaii's 50. That's way too high. I mean, I know Hawaii's bad and Michigan's in this quarterback controversy bullshit. It's not good for the club. They will, who's going to beat Ohio State and Michigan State? That's the quarterback I'm playing. And this guy, this JJ guy, he's a runner who can't throw. He'll never beat him. So if you go with him, you're making a mistake. All right, everybody. Well, that's week 1 roundup. Again, the week 2 plays are out there. I would advise to get them early before the lines move. www.teaserking.com. Purchase picks. You can buy the week. It's better to buy the month, and if you can, buy the year. And it's $750. But if you're somebody who's bought from me before, and there's quite a few of you, it'll be $650 for the whole year through the Super Bowl, all the picks, all the locks. So whatever you want to do, www.teaserking.com. Have a great day. Thank you very much.